What's up, YouTube? Do a little discussion today. So by now you've heard that Toys R Us is closing, and there are a lot of people throughout the Yo-Yo community who are pretty concerned because Toys R Us was sort of the place that they went and got their first yo-yo. I'll be honest with you, I mean, for me, that was kind of the thing too. I remember way back in the 90s, during the yo-yo boom, I lived in Weirton, West Virginia. We didn't have a Toys R Us, and the closest Toys R Us was pretty far away. It was in Pittsburgh, which is where I live now. But it was tougher to get to Pittsburgh when I was like 11 or 12. Like they didn't have a major highway between Weirton and Pittsburgh, so it was a little bit more roundabout way to get to Tears. And I remember when my friend first brought his Omega Fireball to school, and we were like, oh my god, we gotta have one of these. The only place that really still carried them, or that really carried them, was Toys R Us. So to get them, you had to go all the way to Pittsburgh and buy one for $16 or whatever at Toys R Us. And, you know, it wasn't until at least like the weekend before my mom would actually go and do that. And, you know, God bless my mom for, you know, being a trooper and driving 45 minutes to buy me a $16 yo-yo. Because I probably wouldn't be here talking to you guys today had she not. So for Toys R Us to kind of go under is sort of, after 70 years, you know, it's sort of a rough thing for just about everybody. I mean, it's rough for my kids. My kids love Toys R Us. And, you know, it's rough for me to see because I love Toys R Us too and all of that. But, you know, it's kind of a sign of the times, I think. And, you know, when one door closes, another one opens, or there's a window opened or something. So, you know, I also think the closing of Toys R Us is kind of really an opportunity. And what do I mean by that? So, with Toys R Us, at least as far as yo-yos were concerned, I feel like Duncan really had a stranglehold on what kind of stock Toys R Us was going to carry. Clearly, Toys R Us is a huge toy store, was a huge toy store, that carried tons of different toys. And their, you know, ability and willingness to sort of stock and carry and push yo-yos was very minimal. Like, they were a toy store, so they carried yo-yos because yo-yo's a toy. We talk about that all the time. But they weren't ever really going to stock $50 or $60 yo-yos because that's really more of a boutique type of thing, like a boutique specialty store type of thing to do. But they were certainly going to have some, you know, $15 to $20 to $25 yo-yos because that's really probably what sells better, in all honesty, than everything else as far as yo-yos are concerned. I'm sure, you know, even if you compare the nicest and most the nicest and the best-selling unresponsive yo-yos, like, say, the Shutter, you know, they probably sell, you know, 2,000-3,000 Shutters a week throughout the different distributors, but that probably pales in comparison to how many Butterfly XTs, and Duncan Imperials and stuff that sell. So that's really what Toys R Us was always going to carry, but Duncan really sort of had the stranglehold on Toys R Us because they just made so much stuff that was made for Toys R Us, and then, you know, the rollover into Walmart and whatever else. So it sort of left a lot of these other newer yo-yo companies, even like Yo-Yo Factory, kind of out of the picture as far as brick and mortar stores were concerned. Well, now that Toys R Us is going under, I feel like there's really an opportunity for Yo-Yo Factory and, you know, Recess and a lot of these other companies that are still pretty big and have a pretty good, like, introductory beginner yo-yo lineup. You know, think Replay Pros, think regular replays, think the Recess First Base, stuff like that. In addition to Duncan, to kind of branch out a little bit more and get a few yo-yos in some other stores. Something is going to come up to take Toys R Us's place. It may not be the same type of huge warehouse-style toy store that we were used to, but I had heard things that KB Toys is just a name now that somebody owns. Everybody remember KB Toys? They were like the toy store that was inside the mall. So this winter, around Christmas time, we may see some KB toy stores opening in malls, and some of them may stay. At least that was according to the article that I read. KB Toys may pop back into the picture and be sort of a mall toy store again, and they may stick around if some of them do really well. And that would be really cool, because right now there are no toys at the mall. It's really weird, because as a kid, you used to go to the mall, and I used to go to, be able to go to a couple different places that were toy stores and hobby stores and things like that. Right now, in the malls that are closest to me, there are no toy stores. It's like the craziest thing ever. It's like, who would ever think that you could go to the mall and not really buy toys? Like, there's GameStops, I guess. That's probably the closest thing to a toy store, is a GameStop. But there's no, actual toy stores at malls. So, what it might usher in, the closing of Toys R Us, might usher in, some mall toy stores coming back. And that would be cool, because then that gives Yo-Yo Factory and Recess and everybody else sort of the opportunity to maybe get in as a retailer for those stores, whereas Duncan sort of had the stranglehold on all those stores. So maybe, if Recess were to approach Toys R Us or something and say, hey, do you guys want to carry some of these? And, nah, we're good. We got all these Duncans. They don't even sell that well, so we don't need more Yo-Yos. But now, it's possible that maybe Yo-Yo Factory could be the brand that's in that store, as opposed to Duncan. There's lots of good Yo-Yo Factories that would be in that store, and a lot of them are pretty modern and sort of geared towards the build-up towards modern play, because Yo-Yo Factory wants to sell their metal yo-yos, so they want you to move up from their introductory yo-yos into their more professional model yo-yos, and that's sort of what their yo-yos are geared towards. Duncan sort of, I think, relies on a lot of history and nostalgia, at least with the Butterfly and the Imperial and stuff, so it's not quite, it doesn't have the same feel, and I think most people could agree with that. But really what it does, like I said, is it creates an opportunity. So I went to, we have a store called Five and Below, and I'm sure there's a bunch of these because I've heard other guys talk about them that are in different parts of the country. And I walked in yesterday. My kids love this place because it's every time they go, they can get a toy because it's $4 or $5, and it's okay, whatever, pick what you want. And so we went yesterday, and my son wanted to pick up because he broke his whoopee cushion. Yeah, it's weird in my house. And he wanted to get another whoopee cushion, and my daughter just wanted to come because oh boy, a toy. So we went, and perusing all through the toys, I found these bad boys, the Yo-Yo Factory Plus Plus. There were tons of them. And in my head, I went, oh my god, it's happening. The toys that would have gone to Toys R Us are now starting to be dispersed into your Five and Belows. You probably start to see stuff in Walmart. You probably start to see more stuff in Target. And it's going to sort of have to be distributed otherwise. Because let's face it, the toy manufacturers are still making toys. This closing of Toys R Us came rather quickly. So there was all this stock that was going to go to Toys R Us's and other places like that is now, what do we do with this? So it's going to Five and Below. It's probably, some of it's going to end up at Walmart. Some of it will end up in some other type of general stores like that. And this is really kind of the opportunity, I feel that Yo-Yo needs to sort of at least diversify in its brick and mortar stores. Now, I'm not saying you're going to be wandering in and seeing shutters on shelves and behind cabinets in Walmart or whatever, because that's probably never going to be the case. But you might start seeing stuff like the Yo-Yo Factory Plus Plus, maybe some replays, maybe some first bases, stuff like that. And I really think this is sort of the opportunity as things kind of come up to take the place of Toys R Us, to have yo-yos of different companies sort of injected into those retail markets. Because let's face it, online is great. It really is. To get whatever specific exact yo-yo that you want. You can search. Yo-Yo Expert is fantastic. They have so much good stuff. Yo-Yo Best Buy is great. He's got only good yo-yos, and you can really get into it online. And there's really a lot of stores that really take care of us, which is the members of the yo-yo community. And those online stores really take care of us. But the brick and mortar stores are really sort of where the spark is lit for the kids who get into yo-yo. You know, we can do everything we can, but think about how many billions and billions of people go to Walmart. Walmart's got a much bigger reach than I do, or anybody does in the yo-yo community. And somebody picking up a yo-yo at Walmart because they think it looks cool and getting really into it is going to happen a lot more often than somebody just seeing my content or somebody else's content and being like, oh, I should try to play yo-yo. So I feel like this is really the opportunity. I'm sad to see Toys R Us go. I really am. But this is really the opportunity for toy stores to sort of come up and take its place, and for other yo-yo manufacturers to kind of get their intro level stuff in there and get it in kids' hands and get kids trying it. And especially, you know, as we'll see what happens around Christmas time, especially I think that's going to be kind of the biggest sort of opportunity that we've seen in a long time. We're going to see what happens. And, you know, I'm interested to see what happens. As sad as I am to see Toys R Us go, I think it's a great opportunity for yo-yo, and I think I'm really interested to see what's going to happen and what's going to come next, because as a lifelong player with toys, I don't think they're going to just stop selling toys because Toys R Us is gone, but I do think that something is going to have to replace Toys R Us in some way, shape, or form. A lot of it's going to be online, but I think there's going to still be a need for some sort of a brick and mortar sort of at least stopgap for a lot of that. But I don't know. Tell me what you guys think. Leave me a comment down below. You sad to see Toys R Us go? You think it's an opportunity, or you think it's just going to be harder to get yo-yos now in retail stores? I think for a little while it's going to be a little tougher, although they do carry them at Target and at Walmart and stuff. But, you know, I think it's going to be tougher to get a half-decent one. Toys R Us was really the only place that had the really good, not the really good, but the good intro-level stuff, like your Duncan freehand pros and stuff. Toys R Us was a big carrier of Duncan freehands. So I feel like that's sort of going to be the, you know, that's going to sort of be the initial, like, oh, I can only get Imperials and Butterflies for a little while in brick and mortar stores, unless you have a specialty store like SW Randall. But I also think it's good for specialty stores like that to come around, like SW Randall, because now the Toys R Us can't take, you know, the business that they would have had now anyway. So I think it'll be good for specialty stores like that as well. But that's just my 2 cents. Leave me your 2 cents. Tell me what you think down in the comments. But that's going to do it for me today, guys. Make sure you like and subscribe. I do videos every day. And thanks for watching. Cheers to you. I'm not drinking anything right now. And we'll see you next time.